by a heavy burden. In this world of guilt and shame, in the hands of Jesus touch me, and now I am no longer the same. Oh, ye touch me, oh, ye touch me, and oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole. I just bet this fiddle player can play that.
The first thing I ever remember about Clyde was when he was learning to walk, that I had any personal, direct connection with him. Clifton and I were was older than he was, and when he was learning to walk, I helped him learn to walk. I used to take him between my legs and hold his hands while he learned to walk. And he was we were enough bigger than he was that we would antagonize him. We made him mean as the devil. We tried to get him to fight, and we told him he was going to be a boxer. And his granddaddy liked to egg him on, and he'd do whatever you told him. And so we used to antagonize him, and we always accused him of being his daddy's pet. I think he really was, really. But we teased him about it a lot. And he was rather cute. He was a kind of a kid that was always into mischief, always into something. He had a lot of energy. He was the kind of guy that always thought he could do something whether he could or not. He would say he could, and he thought he could, even though it was obvious he couldn't do it. He thought he could do it. I don't think he's changed much there either. And as he grew up, why, he was fairly athletic. He got in the habit of he played some sports. He ran on the track team in school. I remember that. Some of the humorous side of the things that he done was he got to skip in school when he was in high school, and I thought it was kind of funny then, but really it was mischievous. And there's a story we used to tell on him. I don't know where it was 100% so or not, but there was some ground for it. I think he skipped school so much that they made him check in at the truant officer's office every morning, and he'd have to go in and say, "Good morning, Mrs. I believe her name was McDermott. Said, I'm here today, and I plan to be here tomorrow." I remember one time he, and I don't remember who it was for sure, but I believe it was Joe Hernandez, or either the Riemann boy. I don't remember his first name that he used to run around with. Clyde used to race cars a little bit, but he never had one that was worth a flip. And he couldn't win any races on the track, so he'd race out here on the highway. I remember one Sunday he was racing somebody out here on Military Highway, and the cop saw it. And the cop picked him up and carried him to jail. And of course, naturally, it was my job to go get him out. And when I got over to the jailhouse to get him out, he was sitting up in a holding cell with his guitar, singing to the rest of the inmates, "I'm in the jailhouse now." And I talked to the cop. I was trying to get him to let him go, and the cop said, "I saw him and this other fella coming down the road racing." He said, "And I had a car stopped on the side of the road." He said, "And they were going so fast that I knew there's no way I could turn around and catch them. So I didn't even try to catch them. I just let them go." He said, "But I sat there a few minutes writing that ticket." He said, "I looked and I saw them coming back." He said, "And I got set for them. And I picked them up." He said, "So there's no question about what they were speeding." Said they run right by me twice.
We went over the clover lead, turned around, and I said, "Clyde, you better take it easy going back." He said, "Oh no, that policeman's already gone." So we took off again. And over the bridge we go. And there's that policeman still sitting there. He jumps on his motorcycle, pulls both cars over. He says, "Get out." And told them both to get out. And he says, "Lock your car. Pull them off to the side and lock them." And so the policeman, I said a motorcycle. It might have been a police car, because he took both of them in. And at that time, since we were in the county, they took him to jail over in Portsmouth. That was where the county seat was. So I asked the policeman, I said, "How about me?" He says, "I don't care about you." He says, "Get on the best you can." So I had to walk all the way back from Military Highway back to Broad Creek Village, and where we lived. And I had to tell everybody that Clyde and Bill Cavender were in jail. And so anyway, when it came time to go to court, they charged him with reckless driving. And the policeman was telling, when the policeman was relating this to the judge, he said, "Your Honor," he said, "the first time they went by me," he said, "I thought, oops, there go a couple of them, of speeders." And he said, "But then when they turned around and came back at me again," he said, "I took that as a direct insult to me. It was like, why don't you try to catch me?" He said, "So I got him." And the judge said, "How fast do you think they were going?" He said, "Oh, they were doing 50 or 55 miles an hour. And Clyde said, "Your Honor, I was only in the second gear. If my car would do 55 miles an hour, I'll let you have it." And the judge says, $100 in cost of course.
I appreciate him, and I always admired his talent, his ability to do whatever he concentrated on. I think the proudest I ever was of him was when he was in the church, and the way that he was used. I felt like of the Lord while he was in ministering and singing in the church. I think a lot of him. We think differently. We think a lot differently. But I respect him and think a lot of him.
The 10 years that I spent with Majestics, they were some of the happiest years of my life. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I learned an awful lot from him about life and about the Bible, about people. And he taught me that if you act instead of react, that things go a lot better for you. And they were, I tell you, friends like Clyde, they're forever. And the memories, that's something you can't take away. You may not see, I may not see him often, but there are so many memories, and that will stay with you. They don't ever go. And I'm so thankful that I had the time when that I was in the band, and there are things I will never forget. 1 to 10, I would grade him a 10. He has great music ability. He doesn't always use it to his capacity, but he has the ability. Don't you think? He doesn't always use it to his capacity. He didn't. I don't know about now, but he has great ability. He has ability. He has a way he can write, and he can make up, write tunes, songs, but I don't know, he just doesn't, he didn't use it to his full ability, I don't feel like.
Well, what is
Very talented.
When I was playing drums, his amp used to sit right beside of my drums. And he got so into his music when he was playing and singing. He was singing a very slow song with a lot of meaning in it. And he had stepped back to play the lead run in it. And when he stepped forward to sing again, he had his eyes closed and he missed the microphone and shot straight out on the dance floor, dragging his amp behind him, which I had to stop playing drums and grab the amp to stop it from turning over. And the house just about came down with laughter. There was 3 of us in the band. We had just gotten together that day and had run over a few songs in the singer's kitchen. A man called and wanted us to come down there and practice. He said he would pass the hat so we could make some money and practice at the same time. And we didn't have a stand for the microphone, so we cut a broom handle off and nailed it on a piece of plywood and taped the microphone to the broomstick for them to sing through. They passed the hat that night, and the 3 of us made $9 apiece, and we were on our way to a big career in music, I guess. Let's see. Well, he's hard to describe. Other than that, very proud, very fine individual. Is a very true friend to you. If he's your friend, there's nothing he won't do for you. And probably a hard-working man, too. I've always known him to work hard, except when Lois wanted.